Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lisa Dean. I'm a research food technologist with the USDA Agricultural Research Service in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I'm part of a group known as the Food Science and Market Quality and Handling Research Unit. My talk today is about how peanuts play a role in the current interest in plant protein applications for human food and more value-added uses. So, what drives consumer interest in adding protein to the diet? The major reasons from a recent poll in Food Technology magazine are to have a healthy diet, to satisfy hunger, to build muscle or physical strength, and to meet those dietary requirements for a daily intake of protein. What I would like to focus on is the increase in the interest of plant sources of protein. Currently, the market represents about $10.3 billion with a predicted growth rate of slightly more than 6% for at least the next 5 years. And one market aspect of plant protein is sustainability. Peanuts are positioned to take advantage of the consumer interest in crop sustainability due to its relatively low water usage compared with other crops, especially tree nuts, which consumers usually associate peanuts with. There are several reasons why a consumer might choose plant protein, and these include the desire to remove animal products from their diet for ethical or ecological reasons, to improve their health by the reduction in their saturated fat and cholesterol intake, for protein quality, and in some cases, it's a preferred taste, especially with younger consumers. And the number of products that are being produced from plant materials is constantly increasing. Other oilseed crops, such as sunflower and okra seed, are actively looking to exploit the byproducts from their oil production. And some of the ones that have been able to make use of plant protein are now those now familiar meat substitutes that have for decades been made using textured soy protein, and but are now being made with other types of food proteins such as peas, mung beans, lentils, and even microproteins that are being made in culture. There are dressing type products, including mayonnaise, that are being produced because of the ability of protein to produce emulsions. And one application that has potential to add value to peanuts is to be used as a salt substitute, and I'll talk about that a little while later. And another is the production of microspheres or nanoparticles that are of great interest currently for nutraceutical and pharmaceutical applications. And peanuts should be especially suited to these applications since the protein levels are often at 25% of the fresh weight compared to other legumes, which are usually between 8 and 10%. And there have been some successful products using peanut protein in the US, most particularly peanut flour, which is heavily used in the baking industry. It's usually prepared by partially defatting roasted peanuts and still includes some fat up to levels close to 30%. Peanut protein powder is similar with lower levels of fat, usually below 10%, and it's marketed for this low-fat quality, and also for applications such as peanut drinks. Peanut milk was a more recent product where the peanut protein is water extracted, but the product was not successful. And I hope the industry has not given up on this and will be able to deal with the problems that held it back. There are several products such as peanut punch that are produced in the Caribbean that are similar to this, and they're really good products that really should have a wider availability. To create products or for a specific end product, there are several processes that must be carried out to use the protein. These include solutions where the protein is extracted into an aqueous matrix, protein concentrates where some of the water is removed before spray drying are usually about 85% protein with minor amounts of fat and carbohydrate still present. Protein isolates are similar, but are closer to 95% protein. And since peanut protein is actually composed of a number of different proteins, some of which are more readily water soluble and others that are soluble in salt solutions, these individual proteins and protein types can be fractionated to take advantage of their functionality. And I have a schematic here of what's involved in the isolation of peanut protein, and it's relatively labor intensive. The production of peanut oil results in the starting material of defatted meal that is approximately 50% protein. And from there, an extraction is made into an aqueous solution. And the more water-soluble material, often some of the larger proteins, can be removed and then precipitated and recovered. The more hydrophilic ones want to stay as an emulsion rather than be separated out, and you can use a surfactant to bind that or keep them in solution, and then after freezing and thawing, which denatures them somewhat, you can do an additional separation and then come across with these other proteins. And it's a multi-step process, and but it allows you to partition the proteins based on size and type as desired by that ability to absorb specifically to the interface. And so the functional properties that peanut protein possesses can be exploited to produce food ingredients, these finished foods, and some other products. And these functional properties are their solubility, that ability to form emulsions, their water holding capacity, which is important to create gels, their surface hydrophobicity, and rheological properties such as viscosity, which are largely affected by the actual protein structure. And each one of these properties could be an entire lecture in itself, but I'm just listing them here to give examples of the utility of peanut protein. Usually additional manipulations such as hydrolysis are needed to optimize these properties. And I'm going to quickly highlight some specific applications that will be especially high value added. And one of the characteristics of isolated proteins is that they have distinct basic flavor interactions. And this plot is a principal component analysis of the basic taste for some food products that are known for their specific association with one of the basic tastes. And by that, I mean the taste that you taste on your tongue, as opposed to those that get volatilized up into your nasal cavity. And these basic tastes are sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. And by that, I mean that savory sensation that is associated with something like soy sauce. And isolated proteins from food are often associated with bitter, salty, and umami. And in this particular study, peanut protein is the unknown, which is the black dots here. And they clustered in the region of salty and umami. And these characteristics fit well with the current interest in salt reduction strategies for processed food. Isolated peanut protein as an ingredient could serve as a low sodium flavor enhancer, and that would really be a high value added use for peanut protein. And another very active area of research is the production of nanospheres, which can serve as carriers for biologically active molecules. And specific proteins can be isolated that can then be unfolded in this example, basic conditions or alkaline conditions and heat treatment were used to unfold that protein. And then for this study, they actually added resveratrol and calcium ions, and the protein was able to encapsulate them and then refold due to its hydrophilic nature, in that it wants to get away from the water. And the protein then protected the bioactive compound so that it can pass through the digestive system until it can be absorbed into the bloodstream. So getting it into your body, protecting it from the light and extremes of acid and base of storage, and then once it's inside of you, getting it past your stomach so that it can be absorbed into your bloodstream. And but preparing for this talk, I reviewed the literature for the past few years regarding peanut protein. And in doing this, I found that almost no current research is being done here in the US on this topic. Of course, the research on peanut protein earlier than the past few years is quite extensive, and includes work done by Dr. Jack Davis of JLA Global when he was part of our research unit here in Raleigh. And he reported that on antioxidant and ACE inhibitory activities of peanut peptides after hydrolysis of the proteins. And these compounds are currently being used in developing peanut allergy immune therapies. And in the interest of time, I've only presented a few of the opportunities for peanut protein. And I consider this to be a great opportunity for the industry to produce products of much higher value from the peanut crop. So entertain some questions now if anybody has any, and if there's still time.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Dean, for that presentation. We've got time for a question, if there are some from the audience. Okay. Again, thanks a lot, Dr. Dean, for being on the session today and for your information. And thanks for the folks that are still here and listening.